You said today in your opening statement, written statement, that former President Trump's defeat has led to a new wave of domestic violent extremists. Why is that?
You know, it's very interesting because in 2018, when we had the Charlottesville riots, protests, breakout of the right-wing extremists, the alt-right, you know, that was the coming together and putting under one umbrella neo-Nazis, neo-Confederates, and all sorts of white supremacist grievance groups. For 2 years, it looked like they went away after they were shamed after Charlottesville. They didn't. What happened was, and we saw that in the rise of 2020, they all consolidated under the banner of the Trump campaign. So they put aside all their petty differences, and they became essentially a component of the Trump base of support. And as we saw on January 6th, you see just how violent all of those groups can get when they come together in one spot.
Is there an assessment, Malcolm, of what needs to be done to combat these domestic terrorists in the way that we've combated terrorists from abroad?
Not really, even though the FBI has put out some initial warnings on this. You have to remember, for the last 4 years, the Trump administration almost explicitly ordered Department of Homeland Security to pay no attention to domestic violent extremism and to focus all their attention on Muslim Islamic extremism from overseas. By doing that, that just gave these groups the belief that the President of the United States was on their side. They could do what they want, and they did. They organized. They organized in more militia groups. They organized new groups like the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, which have been around for a bit, but which have become more radical. And they themselves thought that they were a paramilitary component of the administration. Now they're out of power, and they view that the power they deserved should be brought back to them in the guise of bringing Donald Trump back to the presidency.
From what we've learned about the Capitol insurrection, there was every indication that these very people were on their way to the Capitol that day. We now know a lot more than we did. Among what we know, that the people who were in charge of the protection never even got word of the intelligence. What does that tell us about how seriously we're taking this enormous problem?
Well, you know, we saw an effort yesterday on Capitol Hill to blame intelligence as a fault for what went on there. It was not for a lack of intelligence. My group had been monitoring it for a month. So is Clint Watts, another MSNBC contributor. We had been monitoring this for some time. They were selling T-shirts called "Storm the Hill," you know, storming the hill, stop the steal. This had been plotted for some period. What is amazing is that the national security apparatus of the United States under President Trump disarmed itself for that day. The Park Police didn't search bags, which is normal when the President of the United States is speaking. These people had pepper spray. Some had small firearms. We identified people with weapons, bear spray, and body armor. They were prepared to do battle, and they came there, and they did.
As a host in the next hour of our sister network said just last evening, we need to learn why. We need to know exactly why. Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.